Good morning, children. In our previous class, we completed the different classes of fungi and we started with the next kingdom, that is plant kingdom. And which are the 4 classes of fungi we learned, Nevin? 4 classes of fungi. Just the names.
Basidiomyte,
Acidiomycetes, then
Ascomycetes,
Basidiomycetes, Ascomycetes. Then, which is the starting one, first one?
second,
Regularly revising the portions. At least the last one.
Deuteromycetes.
Oh, Ascomycetes. Which one?
Deuteromycetes.
Deuteromycetes. So which all you said, just repeat once again.
Ascomycetes.
Ascomycetes.
Basidiomycetes.
Basidiomycetes.
Deuteromycetes.
Deuteromycetes. One is remaining. Which is that, Alvin? Which one he missed out?
Phycomycetes.
Phycomycetes. So tell me the difference between the mycelium of Phycomycetes and Deuteromycetes. Michael, the difference in their mycelium. Phycomycetes and Deuteromycetes.
Phycomycetes is a septate and sinusidic, and the others are branched and septate.
Other one is?
Branched and
septate. Okay, good. So let us continue with the plant kingdom. I think we just started. I gave you the characteristic features of plant kingdom. A few more points to be completed. So we'll continue. So the general features we started discussing, and we learned that plants include eukaryotic organism, means the nucleus is well developed, and they majority of the most of them, they contain chlorophyll, which helps them to trap solar energy and carry out photosynthesis, and they have a cell wall made up of cellulose. Then about their mode of nutrition, majority are autotrophic, but some of them, they are partially heterotrophic. For example, insectivorous plants, or some of them can lead a parasitic life. Examples also we had learned last class. And plant kingdom can be broadly categorized into 2 subkingdoms. Which are those 2 subkingdoms, Gayatri? 2 subkingdoms. It's not mentioned in the slide.
Cryptogame
and Phanerogame. And cryptogame includes algae, bryophytes, and pteridophytes. Algae, we can even call it as thallophytes. So thallophyta. So thallophytes, bryophytes, and pteridophytes come under cryptogams, whereas phanerogams include angiosperms and gymnosperms. The details you will be learning in the next chapter, that is plant kingdom. So in the 3rd chapter, we are learning in detail about all these classes or all these divisions. Okay, another important aspect of plant kingdom is alternation of generations. Life cycle of plants. In all the plants, they have 2 distinct phases. The life cycle of plants, it has got 2 distinct phases. One is the diploid sporophytic phase, and the other one is haploid gametophytic phase. And these 2 alternate with each other, which means that the sporophyte will give rise to gametophyte, gametophyte will give rise to sporophyte. So like a cycle, it keeps on going, or else you can say they exhibit alternation of generations. So in the life cycle of plants, there are 2 phases, 2 distinct phases. One is sporophytic phase, which will produce spores, and then the other one is gametophytic phase, which will produce gametes. And sporophytic phase is diploid and gametophytic phase is haploid. I hope you know the difference between diploid and haploid. Diploid means the paired condition of chromosomes. When chromosomes are in the paired condition, you call it as diploid. When they are in unpaired condition, you call it as haploid. And to make you understand better, I'll give the example in your body. I think already I've mentioned this example. If you take all your body cells, they are in the diploid condition where we have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. But when it comes to your gametes, egg or sperm, they will have only 23, not in pairs, just 23, not 46. So that condition, you call it as haploid. It is denoted by the small letter n and diploid by 2n. This we had already discussed. So once again, in the life cycle of plants, there are two distinct phases, a sporophytic phase and a gametophytic phase, which will alternate with each other, which means that once sporophytic phase is over, gametophytic phase starts. Once that is over, the sporophytic phase starts. Details you will be learning in chapter 3. So I won't go in much details, but still, I'll just tell you how this cycle of events are happening. So starting with the sporophyte. So sporophyte, as I told you, it is diploid. Sporophyte is diploid, and this sporophyte will produce, definitely sporophyte means spore bearing. They will produce spores. So spores will be haploid. So diploid sporophyte producing haploid spores. That means the chromosome number is reduced. So which type of division? Will it be mitosis or meiosis? Anybody? The chromosome number is reducing. Is it mitosis or meiosis?
Meiosis.
Meiosis. So here meiosis takes place and we get haploid spores, and these spores will germinate. The spores will germinate and they will produce gametophyte. And as I told you, gametophyte is haploid. So just the spores are germinating and forming, and the gametophyte, it will be haploid. And this gametophyte will produce gametes. Gametophyte will produce gametes. Male gametophyte will produce male gametes. Female gametophyte will produce female gametes. And since the chromosome number is same, N is remaining N itself, so it will be mitosis. So it carries out mitosis. Now these gametes will fuse together. Male and female gametes, they will fuse. The different gametes fuse together and they will form a zygote, which will form the sporophyte again. So which part forms the sporophyte, which are the spores, what forms the gametophyte, which are the gametes formed, all that we will learn in chapter 3 where it is described in detail. So just in a nutshell, I'll repeat once again. The life cycle is a very important concept, alternation of generations in plant kingdom. Alternation of generation means in plants, the life cycle consists of two distinct phases, sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. Sporophytic phase, it is diploid where there is paired chromosomes, whereas the gametophytic phase is haploid where the chromosomes are unpaired. And these two alternate with each other, which means once sporophytic phase is over, then gametophytic phase starts. And gametophytic phase will lead to sporophytic phase. This continues till the death of the plant, okay, till it gets destroyed. So once again, sporophyte. Sporophyte, as I told, it is haploid. Sporophyte, its function is to produce spores, but spores are haploid. If diploid sporophyte should produce haploid spores, chromosome number should get reduced. So the cell division happening is meiosis. Mitosis means chromosome number is same. Mother and daughter cells, same chromosome number, mitosis. But if the chromosome number reduced to half, it is meiosis. So sporophyte undergoes meiosis, produces spores. Now what will happen to the spores? They will germinate. Upon germinating, what do they form? Gametophyte. What is the function of gametophyte? As the name suggests, to produce gametes. Gametophyte is haploid because they are formed from haploid spores. So definitely, the gametes produced by gametophyte, they are also haploid. Since gametophyte is haploid and the gametes produced are also haploid, chromosome number is same. So which division? Mitosis. Okay. Now, these gametes, male and female, there'll be female gametophyte and male gametophyte. So, they will produce male and female gametes respectively and they will fuse together. Once gametes fuse together, it will form zygote. And zygote will gradually develop into diploid sporophyte. Zygote is also diploid. Why zygote is diploid? Because two cells are fusing. Two haploid cells are fusing. N and N, they are fusing. So zygote will always be diploid. And diploid zygote will give rise to diploid sporophyte. Hope you got an idea. This explanation, what I have shown as a flowchart over here, it's not there in your textbook. They have just mentioned that these two phases are there. Maybe thinking that or keeping in view the details given in the third chapter, they have not given proper description in this particular chapter. If you want, you can just note it down. Clear, no children? You want me to repeat it? If I erase, I will have to write it again. So tell me if you want me to repeat. Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The length of these two phases, how long or the duration of haploid phase and diploid phases, whether these phases are free living or whether they are dependent on each other, all that you cannot generalize it. It depends on or it differs from plant to plant or depends on the group of the plant or the type of the plant. Once again, the duration, how long the gametophytic phase or the sporophytic phase will continue, that depends. And whether they are free living or dependent on each other, all that will be decided by the group of the plant, which means it is different for different plant groups. And you call this phenomenon as alternation of generation. The phenomenon means the life cycle having two phases and these two alternating with each other. That is known as alternation of generation. It's very important concept. For 2 marks and all, you can expect this. So very important concept and it is applicable to all plants. So details you can learn in the next chapter. Hope you don't have any doubts. Now we are going to the next kingdom. Which is the next and last kingdom? Kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia. So that is the kingdom which includes human beings. You know all the features. Can you tell me some of the features, some general features of animal kingdom? You saw what are the features we discussed under plant kingdom. So based on that, can you tell me some features of animal kingdom? Whether any feature of animal kingdom or the animals, you can tell about the mode of nutrition or about their presence of or the speciality of their cells, whether it is eukaryotic, prokaryotic. Yes.
Ma'am, they have mostly living cells to move around.
Okay. Majority, they are, when compared to plants, most of the cells are living. Okay. Any other point? Donna? Simple, the general basic points.
They depend on green plants for food.
Okay, good. They are heterotrophic. They depend upon green plants for their food. And Meenakshi?
Ma'am, they don't have a cell wall.
They don't have the cells. Animal cells are devoid of a cell wall. Then, are they prokaryotic or eukaryotic? Multicellular or unicellular? They are, somebody?
Multicellular,
Multicellular and they are eukaryotic. Eukaryotic means they have a well-defined nucleus covered by a proper nuclear membrane. So let us see the details of the same. Okay. Heterotrophic, as you people have told, they are heterotrophic means they cannot prepare their own food. They depend upon green plants or other organisms for their food. Mainly green plants, either directly or indirectly on green plants. They are eukaryotic, they are multicellular. You don't need any explanation for all that. Animal cells are without a cell wall and directly or indirectly they depend on green plants for their food. All these are basic points. Digestion is internal and store the food reserve. So excess amount of food or fat they will store in the form of glycogen. So upon eating or upon consuming the food, digestion takes place. The digested nutrients, excess amount of that will be stored either in the form of glycogen or as fat. And they have holozoic mode of nutrition. I told you digestion is internal and they carry out holozoic mode of nutrition. You have learned the difference between different modes of nutrition in class 10. So who can tell me what is meant by holozoic mode of nutrition? Nandana? Holozoic. Amoeba, human beings, holozoic nutrition is carried out. Nandana, can you tell me?
Internal digestion and
Yes. Okay. Yes.
molecules are broken inside the body.
Yes, yes. The whole food material is taken in and it is inside the body that the breaking down of food particles into smaller ones takes place. Whereas in the case of saprophytic organisms, you know that breaking down food particles will be broken down outside and then they will be absorbed. So here in a holozoic mode of nutrition, the food particles are taken in and the digestion is internal. The breaking down of complex food particles into simpler ones are taking place inside your body. They have a definite growth pattern and we all grow into adults having a definite shape and size. So we have a particular shape and size and accordingly there will be a range, there will be some variation, but more or less we will grow in the same pattern. Pattern definitely it is same and the shape is also same, but the height, all that height and the width or the how fat a person is, all that can differ. But generally, we have a basic shape and size or growth pattern. And higher organisms, they have a well-developed sensory and neuromotor mechanism, which helps you to respond to your surroundings. Then majority, except a few like sponges and all, you might have learned in class 9, some of them are attached to a solid support. But generally, when you say animals, one major feature is that they are capable of moving. They are capable of locomotion. And sexual reproduction is carried out. So sexual reproduction is also a phenomenon or a major method of reproduction in animals. And here, copulation of male and female, mating of male and female takes place, which results in the fusion of male and female gametes, leading to the formation of a zygote. Zygote will develop into embryo, embryo into fetus, and finally the organism will be formed. Okay, so that was about animal kingdom. Any doubts? Any doubts? So with that, we have completed the 5 kingdoms, and just now we discussed about a few points of plant kingdom and about animal kingdom. Who will tell me what is meant by alternation of generations? Nia, what do you mean by alternation of generations? Where do you find it? Which kingdom?
The length of haploid and diploid phases are whether
No. Understand the meaning. So that
on
alternation of generation means what? The length differs, that is okay. But tell me about those 2 phases. Which are the 2 phases, Nia? In a plant's life cycle,
haploid.
There are 2 distinct phases. Which are those 2?
Haploid and diploid phases.
Haploid, complete it. Haploid phase, how do you call it?
Haploid phases and diploid phases.
Child, haploid phase has got a typical name, peculiar name, starting with S. Haploid, sporophytic phase. What is that, Nia?
Haploid sporophyte.
Sporophytic phase. And what do you call the other phase? Diploid. Diploid. You didn't note it down when I was taking? Gametophytic phase. I'll repeat once and after that you have to tell the answer. It has got, in a plant's life cycle, there are 2 distinct phases, a haploid gametophytic phase and a diploid sporophytic phase. And these 2 phases alternate with each other. That is known as alternation of generations. Now can you tell Nia? Nia? Yes.
Haploid
don't look anywhere now.
phase.
Repeat once again.
And haploid
In the life
gamophytic
cycle.
phase.
So when you say an answer, it should have a complete form of a sentence. In the life cycle of plants, there are
In the life cycle,
Hmm.
there are haploid gamophytic phase,
Hmm.
haploid
Hmm.
sporophytic
Hmm.
phase.
And these two phases, what is the question?
Free living.
Listen, what is the question? Alternation of generations. So what happens with these two phases? They will
Vary among different group.
no, that is not related. I'm not asking about that. How long or the duration about that and all. I did not ask. Just tell me in one line. What do you call the Malavika? Listen, Nia. Malavika will tell the answer. After that, you should be ready with the answer. Malavika, tell me the answer.
The alternation of diploid sporophytic phase and the haploid gametophytic phase
In the life cycle of
plants.
That is known as alternation of generation. But Nia was saying about the duration, whether they are dependent, all that will vary from plants to plant. So that is different thing that you can say. When seeing the marks, you can add points. But when you're asked to define or explain the phenomenon, first you say the gist of that. Nia, can you repeat? You are
In the
thinking
life
this teacher
cycle
is
of
not
plants.
sharing me. Yes?
In the life cycle of plants, alternation of haploid gamophytic phase and diploid sporophytic phase.
Phase. I'll repeat once, okay? For those who haven't understood, in the life cycle of plants, there are two distinct phases, a haploid gametophytic phase and a diploid sporophytic phase. And these two phases will alternate with each other. And this phenomenon is known as alternation of generations. Clear? Anybody is having doubt? Donna, can you repeat it quickly?
The life cycle of plants has two distinct phases, the diploid sporophytic phase and the haploid
Don't look anywhere. Okay.
gametophytic phase, and they alternate with each other. So
this phenomenon is known as alternation of generations. Give me any two characteristic features of animal kingdom. Rijas, any two characteristic features of animal kingdom. Any two. Don't look anywhere. Animal kingdom. Speak a little louder, Rijas. If possible, you use a headphone from next class, if possible. You are using, then mouthpiece you hold close up. Yes. Tell me.
Their cell lacks cell walls.
They lack cell walls. One more point. You have to think so much to say about the features of animals.
Their digestion is internal.
Digestion is internal. What do you call that mode of nutrition? What mode of nutrition is that? There is a specific name.
Holozoic.
Holozoic. So I think in between when we are, when I am taking class, some are traveling somewhere and coming back. Are you people traveling without a ticket? Be attentive. Write down the lecture notes, children. Don't wait for the notes. You please write the lecture notes. That will help you to maintain your concentration. You won't get diverted. First of all, you are not sitting in a classroom, and you will be sitting at home, and maybe you have so much other disturbances. So it is always better to use a headset so that you will not hear any other noise. Plus, write your take down the lecture notes so that whether you are reading it later or not, that is different thing, but that will help you to maintain the concentration. I want you to try it out. Okay, expect better performance from next time onwards, everyone. So we have completed the 5 kingdoms. Now we are moving on to certain other organisms which are not grouped under any of the kingdoms we mentioned now. These are viruses, viroids, prions, and lichens. So one by one, we will see some characteristic features of these organisms. So let us start with the first one. Viruses, you are so familiar, and Now this online classes are also because of which one? This particular virus. So because of COVID-19 virus only, we are in such a situation. Even presently also the entire world is struggling to get out of this. Okay, so let us learn more about virus. In the 5 kingdom classification, already you know what is 5 kingdom classification and which are those 5 kingdoms. Acellular, not the point, acellular, without a cell, a proper cellular structure is not there. Like viruses and viroids and lichen, these are not included anywhere in the 5 kingdom classification because of the specialities in their characteristic features. They don't come under any of these kingdoms. Viruses are non-cellular and not truly living. We say that viruses, they are on the borderline between living and non-living. Outside a host body, they are non-living. They do not show any signs of living. But once they enter a host cell, they start multiplying and they become living. Otherwise, they do not show, they'll be inert when they are outside a host cell. They have an inert crystalline structure outside a living cell. They do not show any signs of life once they are outside a living cell. They are obligate parasites. If they need to complete their life cycle, if they, in their life cycle, a parasitic mode of life is compulsory. They are obligate or compulsorily, they need to lead a parasitic life because they are parasitic inside any of the hosts. It can be a human being, it can be an animal, plant, or even a bacteria. When they infect a cell, when they are attacking a cell, this you have learned in 9th standard. When we learned about why antibiotics are not effective against viruses and why very few antiviral drugs are available. I think this concept you had already learned. And when they are infecting, when they are entering a host cell, they will take over their machinery. Viruses as such, they don't have any biochemical machinery of their own. They can't synthesize or they can't carry out any biochemical functions. So what they do is, once they enter a host cell, they take control over the cell and they carry out, or they take control along with the cell, the biochemical mechanisms are also will be under the control of this particular virus. As such, they do not have any biochemical machinery or biochemical reactions. They all, once they are entering a host cell, they'll take control over the biochemical mechanism or machinery of the host cell, and they multiply, and finally once they increase in number and infection proceeds, they can kill the host or the host cell. So pictures of a few viruses are seen here. Majority of them are having the similar structure. Now let us learn about the contribution of a few scientists which made us to learn better, or which helped us to know better about these viruses. Louis Pasteur, the first picture is that of Louis Pasteur. He was the one who gave the name virus. The word meaning of virus is venom or poisonous fluid, and it was Louis Pasteur who gave the name virus. And later, D.J. Ivanovsky in 1892, he found out or he was the one who identified the causative organism of tobacco mosaic disease. Tobacco mosaic disease is attacking, as the name suggests, it affects tobacco plants and it causes mosaic disease, means the leaf or the parts of the plant will get a mosaic appearance. Patches of different colors, yellow, green, different colored patches will appear on the parts of the plant, and it will lead to the stunted growth of the plants too. And he was the person, D.J. Ivanovsky was the one who identified that such an organism or virus causes tobacco mosaic disease, and he found that these organisms are smaller than bacteria because for the laboratory purpose, they had used bacteria-proof filters, which means that bacteria-proof filters means bacteria cannot pass through those filters. But through those filters, viruses could move, which means that viruses are smaller than bacteria. He found out that viruses are smaller than bacteria because they could move through bacteria-proof filters. So bacteria proof filters will be, their size will be in such a way that it will not permit bacteria to move through that. But if viruses could move through these bacteria proof filters, it's evident that they were smaller than bacteria. Then M.W. Bajornik in 1898, he found out that this virus or these viruses are infectious, because once he took an extract or some amount of the infected plant was taken, and then when it was injected into a healthy plant, that plant also got affected by the disease, which means that virus is infectious, and hence this fluid, the extract taken out which contained this viruses, were known as Contagium vivum fluidum. Contagium vivum fluidum, which means infectious living fluid. Infectious living fluid. Who gave the name? Bajornik. Why he gave the name Contagium vivum fluidum? Because the fluid or the extract which was taken out from the infected plant caused disease in other plants, which means that it could spread from one plant to the other plant. And later, W.M. Stanley, he succeeded in crystallizing these viruses, and he demonstrated that these viruses or their structure is actually made up of proteins. Mainly they are proteins, made up of proteins, and they remain inert, inactive outside a host cell. They do not show any signs of life outside a living cell. So these are some important landmarks in the study of viruses. I'll repeat once again. The name virus was given by Louis Pasteur. And what was the contribution of D.J. Ivanovsky? He was the one who identified that viruses cause tobacco mosaic disease, and they are smaller than bacteria. And Bajornik found that these are infectious, because when an extract was taken from an affected plant and injected into a healthy plant, that plant also got affected by the disease, which means that they can spread. Then later, Stanley could crystallize these viruses, and he found out that these were made up of, or mainly its structure is made up of proteins which remained inert outside a living cell. Any doubt? Any slide would you like to see again? Any slide would you like to see again, children? Clear? Yes? Yes or no? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? I heard somebody said no. Sania, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that means you can answer my questions, isn't it? Who gave? Yes.
That virus's first part slide, can you show? Okay.
Virus first part means, which is that? You tell me.
In 5 kingdom classification, cellular organ, that part.
Shall I say that? Shall I repeat the points? Because it's already 12:10. The teacher will be okay. So I'll repeat. So what I was saying about virus is that the meaning, the word meaning is poisonous fluid. The name was given by Louis Pasteur. And viruses, they are acellular structures. They do not have a cellular structure, and neither viruses, viroids, nor lichens were included under any of the 5 kingdom which we discussed so far. That is why they are dealt as a separate topic. Okay, that was in the introduction part. Then we learned about the contribution of different scientists. So who gave the name virus? Sania?
Louis Pasteur.
Louis Pasteur. And who found out that, or what is the contribution of Ivanovsky? What he found out, or which information he found out regarding viruses? Meenakshi? Ivanovsky. He found out
they
that
cause a mosaic disease in
tobacco mosaic disease, and also they are, what about their size? They are?
They are smaller.
Why he told, or how he understood?
Than bacteria.
How did he understand?
Because they pass through
bacteria proof filters. Okay. What do you mean by contagium vivum fluidum? Punya, what do you mean by contagium vivum fluidum?
The fluid from the infectious plant could infect a healthy
plants. But what is the word meaning? Contagious, contagium vivum fluidum. Contagium means infectious. Vivum, living. Fluidum, fluid. What is that? Repeat.
Infectious living fluid.
Okay. So shall we wind up? For that also no answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.